The scorching Arizona sun of 1912 burned across the endless desert as Pastor Samuel Carter arrived, searching for something he could not name. Every dune seemed to whisper ancient secrets, pulling him deeper into a land where time moved differently and destiny felt dangerously close to awakening within him. Tension hung in the air the moment he stepped into a small frontier settlement. Locals spoke in hushed tones about an Apache elder who could call upon sacred fire that revealed hidden truths. The pastor felt his heartbeat rise, struck by a mysterious urge to uncover what lay beyond the mountains. Restless, Samuel followed a worn trail leading toward towering red canyons. The warm wind seemed to push him forward, carrying strange echoes that stirred his soul. Something powerful awaited him in that desert, and he sensed his life was on the brink of an irreversible transformation. As Pastor Samuel reached the rocky clearing and saw Elder Kwana standing beside a blue flame that burned without consuming anything, the fire shifted, forming a shape. Before he could speak, the glowing figure called his name. The sight of Elder Kwana beside the shimmering blue flame made the air thicken around Samuel. The pastor hesitated, unsure if he faced a vision or a spiritual phenomenon. The fire rippled as though breathing, its glow casting shifting shadows that formed symbols he felt he should recognize. Elder Kwana observed Samuel with calm, ancient eyes carrying the weight of generations. Samuel felt an unexplained pull deep in his chest, like invisible strings tugging at forgotten memories. The strange flame pulsed brighter, revealing markings in the dust that resembled sacred Apache patterns. Joseph Carter, who had followed Samuel from the settlement, arrived moments later. He froze at the sight of the flame twisting upward in unnatural patterns. His instinct told him to call out to Samuel, yet the overwhelming aura of the place silenced him instantly as the fire took on a humanoid shape. Far away, Helen Duarte stood at her window in the dusty settlement. Without warning, a gust of wind blew her prayer cards to the floor. Her blue eyes widened as an unsettling sense of urgency gripped her heart. Something was happening in the mountains, and she knew it involved Samuel. Isabelle Ramos wandered through the marketplace, stopping suddenly when she felt a chill slither down her spine. Though the sun remained fierce, a strange heaviness filled the air. A distant, melodic hum drifted toward her, urging her to leave the town and follow the mountain trail. Samuel finally gathered the courage to ask Kwana about the blue flame. The elder lifted a weathered hand and the fire responded as if it understood him, rising higher. Fear and awe tangled within Samuel, keeping him rooted as he watched impossible shapes form inside the light. Kwana explained that the sacred fire did not burn physical flesh, but illuminated the unseen truths of the spirit. Samuel's breath caught. Within the flame, shifting silhouettes flickered, showing fragments of memories he had long buried. The pastor felt dizzy as emotions he had avoided resurfaced. The fire expanded, casting a sudden coldness around Samuel. His mind flooded with images of his childhood, his calling, his losses, Kwana whispered in Apache, asking the spirits to strengthen him. The pastor felt both overwhelmed and strangely comforted as the flame's power intensified. Joseph attempted to step forward to help his friend, but the earth beneath him vibrated violently, halting him. He widened his eyes in disbelief as the desert floor shimmered like heated iron. Sweat dripped down his face as fear gripped his chest tighter with each heartbeat. At that moment, Helen felt a stinging warmth in her hands. Looking down, she watched golden sparks fade like dust. Her breath trembled as she whispered Samuel's name. She knew deep inside that the pastor was facing something monumental, something beyond human understanding. Isabelle paused on the trail when she heard the cry of a rare desert bird. She bowed her head and whispered a simple prayer, trusting the desert's signs. A clarity washed over her, affirming that she was meant to stand beside Samuel on whatever path awaited him. Kwana gestured for Samuel to come closer. The pastor hesitated, but stepped forward, drawn by a force beyond logic. As he approached, the flames swirled into patterns resembling ancient stories told by elders. Tales passed only through ceremony and guarded by time itself. A sudden chill brushed Samuel's skin as he neared the fire. He watched, stunned, as the flame molded itself into a clear shape. His breath hitched when he realized who the figure resembled. Emotion surged through him like a storm breaking loose. Joseph managed to move one foot before the ground cracked with a warning tremor. He froze again, watching helplessly. His heart hammered painfully as he prayed silently for Samuel's safety, feeling powerless against the supernatural force holding them in place. The fire-formed silhouette lifted its head, its features becoming clearer. Samuel recognized the face instantly, a memory he had avoided for years. His chest tightened as tears blurred his vision. The flame's message was personal, unavoidable, and deeply painful. Back on the trail, Helen gathered her belongings in haste. She could no longer ignore the spiritual pull guiding her. The unease had grown unbearable. She knew Samuel needed her presence, even if she didn't fully understand why her heart pressed her forward. Isabelle, too, felt her steps strengthen with resolve. She walked faster, following a path she somehow knew would lead her directly to him. The desert seemed to open before her, granting her direction as though ancient spirits guided her through every stone and shadow. As Samuel stared into the glowing eyes of the figure made of blue fire, he felt a spiritual impact so powerful it nearly knocked him to the ground. A revelation hovered inches away, ready to break open the very fabric of his destiny. Subscribe to the channel to follow the next parts of the story. The blue flame shifted again, releasing a wave of cool air that circled Samuel like a gentle tide. His heart still raced from the vision, but a strange calm settled over him. Elder Kwana stepped closer, his expression solemn, as though preparing Samuel for truths that would challenge everything he believed. The flame dimmed slightly, revealing something stirring within its core. Samuel watched as swirling fragments of memories and symbols twisted together. He sensed that the fire was not merely showing the past, but weaving connections between spirits, ancestors, and the living world in front of him. Joseph approached cautiously, though fear gripped his stomach. The air felt alive, vibrating with unseen forces. He wanted to pull Samuel away from the flame. Yet something told him that interrupting the moment could break a sacred balance he did not understand. Helen and Isabelle moved along the mountain trail, feeling the atmosphere grow heavier the closer they came. A faint blue glow flickered between distant rocks, urging them forward. Their footsteps synced unconsciously, tied by an invisible force pulling them toward the pastor's destiny. Helen pressed her hand to her chest as a sudden warmth spread through her body. It felt like a message, soft but insistent. Her breath trembled, yet her resolve strengthened. She whispered Samuel's name into the wind, hoping he could somehow sense her approach. Isabelle felt the same pull. She stopped briefly, looking at the sky where a thin streak of blue light shimmered. The desert had never felt so alive. She knew she was being guided, though she couldn't explain why she felt so certain of the path ahead. Back at the clearing, Samuel steadied himself as the flame rose again. This time it formed a second figure, sharper and more imposing than the first. The shape was tall, with strong shoulders and markings glowing along its body. Samuel felt power radiating from the apparition. Elder Kwana bowed his head respectfully, signaling that this figure was of great spiritual significance. Samuel felt the weight of history pressing down on him as the warrior AS face emerged from the flames. His eyes glowed like embers, ancient and stern, seeing straight through Samuel's soul. The warrior lifted a fiery spear, pointing it toward the horizon. Instantly the flame projected scenes of battles fought long ago. Samuel saw Apache warriors defending their land. He saw loss, courage, sacrifice, and an unbroken will woven into the earth beneath his feet. Joseph watched the vision with wide eyes, fear mixing with awe. He felt the ground tremble faintly, as if echoing memories of the very battles unfolding before them. Sweat slid down his temples, and he clasped his hands tightly, whispering a prayer for strength. Helen and Isabelle finally reached the ridge overlooking the clearing. Both women gasped when they saw the brilliant column of blue fire rising from the rocks. The scene felt unreal, as though they had stepped into a living legend unfolding before their eyes. Helen's knees weakened, but she forced herself to move, descending the path with determination. Isabelle steadied her, feeling their destinies intertwine with every step toward the sacred clearing. Neither could deny the magnetic pull guiding them closer. Samuel watched the warrior's gaze soften. The fiery figure raised its hand, and for a brief moment, Samuel felt a surge of warmth, like a blessing carried from a distant era. It was a message of duty, honor, and a path he was meant to walk even before he understood it. Kwana murmured that the spirits were acknowledging Samuel's heart, recognizing his willingness to listen rather than judge. Samuel felt humbled. His faith had brought him far, but this revelation demanded a deeper courage he wasn't sure he possessed. The warrior's body dissolved into sparks, drifting upward like fragments of the night sky. The fire swirled once more, gathering itself into a third radiant form. Samuel wiped his eyes, unsure if he was ready for what would come next. Helen and Isabelle stepped into the clearing just as the fire reached its brightest moment, their breath caught as the new figure began to form. Samuel turned, relief flashing across his face when he saw them. Their presence made him feel grounded again, supported. The air thickened with anticipation. The fire pulsated gently, as if preparing to reveal a final truth. Samuel felt a tremor race down his spine. This was not just another vision. This was a turning point, one that would redefine the journey of everyone present. Don't forget to like this video. It really helps the channel grow. The third figure emerging from the flame moved with an elegance unlike the others. The blue fire thinned into silver outlines, forming delicate curves that shimmered softly. Samuel felt a shift in the air, as though the spirit carried not power or warning, but profound guidance, reaching straight into the heart. As the form sharpened, the shape of a woman appeared within the glowing spirals of light. Her presence radiated calm, and the temperature around them dropped to a gentle coolness. Helen and Isabelle stood frozen, mesmerized by the sight of a spirit that felt both ancient and comforting. Elder Kwana bowed his head deeply, whispering a reverent chant. His voice trembled, revealing the rarity of this apparition. Samuel realized he was witnessing something sacred, granted to very few. The spirit's soft glow made his pulse slow, calming every frantic thought inside him. The woman lifted her arms gracefully, releasing sparks of light that drifted like falling stars. When they touched the ground, they dissolved into shimmering dust. Samuel felt a warm pressure in his chest, like a hand resting gently over his heart, steadying him from the inside out. For a moment, the spirit's eyes met his. Her gaze was piercing, filled with understanding that transcended words. It felt as if she had seen every sorrow, every fear, every unanswered prayer living within him. Samuel swallowed hard, overwhelmed by the tenderness in her expression. Joseph watched with profound awe, unable to form a single sentence. The glow reflected off his eyes as he whispered a shaky breath. Although fear lingered in him, a deep sense of respect grew stronger. He knew this moment would remain etched in his memory forever. The spirit turned toward Helen. A faint silver pulse rippled across the ground, touching her feet. Helen gasped as visions flickered. Uncertainties, hopes, hidden strengths. Tears rolled slowly down her cheeks. She felt herself seen in a way no human gaze had ever reached. Isabelle stepped forward unintentionally, drawn by the spirit's glow. When the luminous eyes settled on her, she felt a rush of images of roads she had not traveled yet. Courage awakened in her chest, replacing doubts she long carried quietly. She steadied her breathing, accepting the silent blessing. The spirit returned her focus to Samuel, extending a hand shaped from shimmering fire. With slow steps, he moved closer, entranced. When her hand touched his chest, no heat burned him. Instead, a surge of energy radiated inward, unlocking memories, truths, and possibilities he had never considered. Samuel's mind filled with visions, temples of stone, nights illuminated by sacred flames, voices calling him across different eras. Everything merged into a single thread leading toward his destiny. Although overwhelmed, he felt none of the fear from before, only purpose. Elder Kwana spoke softly, explaining that she was the guardian of the sacred path, the spirit who guided chosen travelers across spiritual thresholds. Samuel felt the weight of the elder's words settle over him. Guardian spirits appeared only for those whose calling reshaped not just themselves, but entire journeys. When the spirit slowly withdrew her hand, Samuel opened his eyes, stunned by the inner clarity he now carried. Helen, Isabelle, and Joseph sensed a shift in him. an unspoken certainty, as though the fire had strengthened the very structure of his soul. The spirit stepped back, and her body dissolved into a swirl of blue and silver light. The flames rose around her absence, forming a ring that circled the group like a protective barrier. The desert wind quieted, bowing to the sacred presence lingering in the clearing. Elder Kwana approached the center of the ring and lifted his wooden staff. The ground rumbled softly. The remnants of the spirit expanded, mapping the silhouette of a distant mountain onto the sky as if painted with fire. Samuel recognized it immediately. Their next destination. Joseph placed a firm hand on Samuel's shoulder, promising silently that he would follow him wherever this path led. Samuel nodded with gratitude, realizing how essential the bond with his companions had become. Together, they formed a strength none of them possessed alone. Helen and Isabelle stepped closer, aligning themselves beside him. Their presence radiated warmth, balancing the weight of Samuel's new purpose. All four stood united, facing the fiery outline of the mountain. The guardian spirit's fading glow wrapped around them like an oath. As the last spark of light vanished, the sacred flame shrank into a small glowing ember. The night air cooled, carrying the promise of revelations yet to come. Samuel exhaled slowly, feeling both humbled and empowered. The real journey was no longer approaching, it had begun. Leave a comment below telling what you think about the story. Dawn broke slowly over the desert, painting the sky in soft gold as Samuel and the others prepared to leave the clearing. The ember of the sacred fire still glowed faintly at their feet. Elder Kwana stepped toward it, whispering a final blessing that caused the ember to pulse, as if alive. Samuel felt the lingering warmth of the guardian spirit within him, guiding his steps even before he moved. The mountain drawn in the sky by the sacred flame still hovered vividly in his mind. It called to him with a quiet but irresistible force, promising truth and transformation. Joseph tightened the straps of his vest, glancing warily at the horizon. Though he tried to appear steady, concern flickered in his green eyes. Whatever awaited them on that mountain was not ordinary. He knew Samuel's destiny was shifting towards something far greater than any of them expected. Helen adjusted her dress and tied her hair back, preparing herself for the long trek. She felt stronger than before, as though the guardian's touch had unlocked a deeper resilience within her. The memories she had glimpsed echoed softly, shaping her resolve to support Samuel no matter what. Isabelle knelt briefly in the sand, pressing her palm against the ground. She whispered a quiet prayer, thanking the spirits that had guided her path. When she rose, her dark eyes gleamed with determination. She felt fully aligned with the purpose that lay ahead. Elder Kwana led the way, walking with a confident stride toward the distant mountain. His presence radiated certainty, as though he had walked this sacred path many times through different lifetimes. Samuel followed close behind, sensing the importance of every step he took. The desert reacted to their journey. Wind brushed past them in rhythmic waves, whispering faint echoes of chants Samuel couldn't quite understand. Still, the melody felt familiar, as though woven into his spirit long before he ever set foot in Arizona. As they traveled, the ground gradually shifted from warm sand to rugged stone. The path grew steeper, challenging their endurance. Yet Samuel felt no fatigue. Something deep within him pushed him forward, urging him closer to the truth hidden within the mountain's ancient heart. Joseph wiped sweat from his brow as the incline steepened. Despite the difficulty, he felt a strange sense of belonging on this path. The spiritual weight he had feared earlier now felt like an anchor pulling him into a story larger than himself. Helen stumbled briefly, but caught herself quickly. The air seemed to thicken as they ascended, carrying the scent of sage and dust. She sensed unseen eyes watching them, protective rather than threatening. The feeling reassured her, strengthening her steps. Isabelle looked back at the trail below. The clearing where they had witnessed the sacred fire was now a distant speck, yet its memory burned bright in her mind. She wondered how many others had stood where Samuel stood, chosen for revelations that shaped generations. Halfway up the mountain, Elder Kwana stopped and raised his hand. The wind halted instantly. Samuel felt a vibration beneath his feet, subtle but unmistakable. The elder turned, his expression solemn, and said the spirits were opening the path ahead. the final threshold before truth. A beam of faint blue light emerged from a crevice in the rock, spreading across the ground like a glowing map. Samuel's breath caught. The light curved upward, revealing an entrance hidden by ancient camouflage. It pulsed gently, inviting them inside. Joseph exchanged a nervous glance with Helen and Isabelle. None of them spoke, but all felt the same blend of fear and reverence. Samuel stepped forward. The glow intensified, wrapping gently around him like a cloak of welcome. It was clear this moment belonged to him. Inside the entrance, the cavern walls shimmered with drawings etched in mineral-rich stone. The symbols depicted warriors, guardians, fires, and a figure resembling Samuel himself, standing before a heavenly flame. The sight stole his breath, confirming what he had begun to suspect. Elder Kwana approached the carvings and touched one symbol lightly. A rush of wind surged through the chamber, igniting a blue flame at the center of the cavern. The fire rose higher than any before, swirling with both fierceness and grace. Its roar echoed through Samuel's soul. The flame revealed a final vision. Samuel standing atop the mountain, surrounded by blue fire, guiding others through darkness. It was a calling beyond fear, beyond doubt, a calling shaped by destiny, faith, and the spirits who had chosen him long before his birth. As the vision faded, the cavern fell silent. Samuel felt transformed. The sacred fire had woven him into its legacy. When he turned to his companions, they saw certainty in his eyes, a clarity as powerful as the light still burning at the cavern's center. Share this video with someone who loves good stories too. As Samuel stepped out of the cavern, the first rays of sunrise touched the mountain peak, illuminating the path they had climbed. A gentle blue shimmer remained in the air around him, marking the presence of the sacred fire within his spirit. He felt renewed, strengthened, and anchored to a destiny he finally understood. Helen, Isabelle, and Joseph stood close, sensing the transformation radiating from him. Their journey had woven them together, binding their purposes to Samuel's calling. Even the desert seemed to recognize the shift, its winds calmer, its silence filled with reverent anticipation for what would follow. Elder Kwana approached Samuel with steady steps, raising his hand in quiet acknowledgement. He spoke of the sacred responsibility Samuel now carried, a path that required unwavering faith. The pastor felt neither fear nor doubt, only gratitude for the guidance that had awakened his true purpose. The sky brightened as they descended the mountain, each step echoing with meaning. Samuel knew the sacred fire would continue guiding him, not just through visions, but through every choice, every challenge ahead. His mission extended beyond the desert, reaching into lives waiting for light. At the mountain's base, Samuel paused and looked back at the glowing peak. The journey had changed him forever. With his companions at his side and the sacred fire within him, he was ready to walk into a new chapter, one shaped by destiny, courage, and the eternal flame of truth. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and share to support this project.